lemon water versus apple cider vinegar. I've done videos on both, and I've gone into exquisite detail on both. And if you pay attention, you realize they're very, very, very similar on the surface. Okay, you see, apple cider vinegar and lemon water both have powerful effects when it comes down to carbohydrates. So let me explain this. It all has to do with salivary amylase, okay? So salivary amylase, which I've explained before, is simply this. It is an enzyme that starts to break down starches in our saliva. So the breakdown of a carbohydrate begins in our mouth. Well, this breaks down the starch chains, which makes it so that glucose can absorb easier as it gets further down in digestion. What happens when you consume lemon water or apple cider vinegar is you are increasing the acidity, lowering the pH temporarily so that you don't produce as much of this enzyme. So then when you do eat the carbohydrates, you have less starch breakdown. Now there's very compelling evidence demonstrating that there is up to a 30% decrease in glycemic spike, like a glucose spike, after consuming lemon water before having carbohydrates, right? So very, very powerful there. Now with apple cider vinegar or acetic acid in general, I should really clarify that really any vinegar would do the trick. Apple cider vinegar has a few other properties, like possibly some prebiotic fibers from pectin and things like that. Very, very similar things because the acetic acid is really doing a lot of the same, okay? So which is better for what? Well, I'll make this very, very simple. Lemon water seems to be much better when it comes down to consuming with a meal. When it comes down to practicality, that just makes more sense. You can go to almost any restaurant and ask for a little dish of lemons or a couple wedges of lemons to put in your water or your iced tea. Very straightforward, very easy. It's a little bit more difficult to carry around small vials of apple cider vinegar or ask for vinegar at a restaurant. No one's gonna bat an eye if they're sitting at a table with you and you ask for lemon, okay? The other thing we have to look at is that acetic acid, like in vinegar, is a little bit more of an AMPK activator. So AMPK, when it's phosphorylated, it essentially is triggering your body to be in a deficit. So when you exercise, you are phosphorylating AMPK. Your body sees that you are demanding more energy than what's available. So what happens is acetic acid, an acetate, forms in the cell, leading to a buildup of acetyl coenzyme A, which leads the body to believe that it's in more of a deficit. So the reason that I say this, apple cider vinegar works better than lemon water does on an empty stomach, okay? Additionally, apple cider vinegar, as far as caloric impact, technically doesn't really have calories, whereas lemon juice might have a negligible amount of carbohydrates and a negligible amount of calories. So we do have to factor that in for what is best in an absolute fasted state. FYI, I put a link down below for Thrive Market because they have various forms of lemon juice and apple cider vinegar. I know it's easy to get at your store, but the cool thing is if you're wanting to get other things, they're a sponsor on this channel. There's a 30% off discount link down below. So that'll save you 30% off your entire grocery order plus get you a free gift. So definitely check them out. Like if you need to do some grocery shopping online, you want different options, you want some lower carb options, I definitely do recommend it. They've been on this channel for 5+ years. They are tried and tested. My subscriber base loves them, and I think you will too. So that link is down below in the description. Now we jump back over to lemons for a second. There's some interesting evidence that demonstrates that the polyphenols in lemons could be what drive a lot of the benefit. Now, most of this is a little bit speculative to say the least. The polyphenol effect in lemons seems to have a possible antioxidant effect that may contribute to some protective effects at the liver level, but again, it's a little bit out there and we can't really say with absolute certainty because most of the evidence there is going to be in vitro, basically Petri dish studies. And then people bring up the question, what about lime juice? What about limes? Very, very similar profile. As a matter of fact, the acidity in limes can sometimes be a little bit more than lemons, so you can really get the same kind of effect with a lime that you can with a lemon. The only issue is the sugar content. If you squeeze the juice of a lemon, you're going to have a couple grams of carbohydrates. This is, in essence, going to trigger a very small insulin spike. So if you wanted to be very, very careful about it, apple cider vinegar would be the better option to go for there. As far as nighttime goes, when you look at the effects of lemon water, it seems to be a little bit longer of a response in terms of attenuating glucose than apple cider vinegar. So the reason I usually suggest consuming apple cider vinegar or lemon water after dinner or with dinner is because any time that you can attenuate the glucose response at night, you're gonna be in a better position for sleep, you're gonna be in a better position for overall just not having glucose levels sky high when you're inactive, right? If you ate a high carbohydrate dinner and your glucose levels were high and then you were not active and you did not have that, what is called insulin independent glucose uptake of the muscle cells because you're not moving, well, that can lead to potential glycolation, that can lead to, just high levels of glucose that can be damaging. So we wanna be careful there. So any kind of thing where you can add lemon water or apple cider vinegar in, however, a lot of the evidence demonstrates that lemon water might be a little bit more of a prolonged effect. Then again, it's negligible. And what about being able to combine it with other things in the morning? Combining apple cider vinegar and lemon water. Do you get an added benefit by combining the two? That is a tremendous question. I've done videos on this because you're really coming at the same thing from slightly different angles. The acetic acid in vinegar is acidic just like the lemon juice itself is acidic. Okay, then the lemon is going to have potential polyphenols in the skin if you really want to squeeze and get the oils out of the skin and things like that. That could have additional benefit coming at it from a different angle, but I'd have to argue that you'd need quite a bit to really get an extra benefit from that. Where things get kind of interesting is apple cider vinegar has potential other benefits with the pectin in it. Okay, pectin is an indigestible fiber that may have an effect on satiety. Okay, now you're going to get that with lemon too, but a lot of times with apple cider vinegar, if you shake it and you get that cloudiness to it and you kind of mix it all up, you might get a little bit more of that pectin response, which may stimulate glucagon-like peptide 1 and may stimulate what's called peptide YY, but you may have an effect of what are called incretins. Okay, so incretin potentiators, and these are what are called gut hormones, which signal various metabolic responses. So if you were to sit down and eat a large meal over a long period of time, it allows for this glucagon-like peptide 1 to increase, which is going to allow glucose to absorb slower. So that's why, again, the apple cider vinegar or the lemon with a meal like that can be helpful. But even apple cider vinegar on its own with the pectin may have a slight increase or trigger a slight increase in that peptide YY or glucagon-like peptide 1. So in short, here's a list of really what you want to use each one for. Okay, lemon is going to be good with carbohydrates, whether it's breakfast, whether it's lunch, whether it's dinner. Okay, period. It's pretty simple with that. Apple cider vinegar is also good with carbohydrates, but apple cider vinegar is something good to take in fasted. You don't have that insulin potential little spike. Okay, it's also something really good to take in pre-workout. Okay, I really recommend apple cider vinegar pre-workout because it could potentially put you into a deeper AMPK phosphorylated state, making it so possibly you're in more of a deficit when you are training and maybe kind of kickstarts that process. Okay, the other piece of the equation that we want to look at with apple cider vinegar prior to a workout or anything like that is the simple sour response can actually trigger the nervous system to activate a little bit more and wake you up. There's been some studies, I don't have them right offhand, that demonstrate just that you can have a pretty powerful effect just by having a potent taste in terms of waking up the central nervous system and getting you a little bit more of that alertness with a workout. So I encourage you not to overthink it. Lemon water, apple cider vinegar really operate in very similar ways. So as always, keep it locked in here on my channel. I'll see you tomorrow.